Welcome back to the Brandt Center. Barney Sharkey, and if you're watching the stream, you see him. The Professor Don Hewitt is joining us for the next little bit. Hour 3, we're going to chat here. We got the senior hockey report coming up, and then we got Farhan Lalji on the backside of it as we get set for the Pats and Medicine Hat Tigers tonight here at the Brandt Center. But so much hockey going on in the area. I'll just throw some of these out. You guys chime in with any memories and stuff you have. Okay. So as I said, Western Hockey League, the Extreme Hockey, Western Hockey League, report Extreme Hockey and Sport. Spring hockey around the corner. What do you need? If you got any team kits that you need, also baseball, Umbrella Marketing can help you out there. They're also dabbling in lacrosse.
Logo Yetis.
Lacrosse now. And they got everything you need. Extreme Hockey and Sport. So the Pats are here to Medicine Hat. Then we have no Gavin McKenna. Keep in mind tonight.
They're missing a couple of bodies, apparently. McKenna's just one. Yeah.
Medicine Hat leads the East by 1 point.
I thought it was more than that.
Over Lethbridge.
Ooh.
Over Calgary.
That's a big tilt for them. They can't take it off.
Moose Jaw's in Swift Current. Lethbridge is in Brandon. Calgary is taking on Dave Strush and the Red Deer Rebels. Western Hockey League tonight. SJHL. Oh, things are getting real interesting in the SJ fellas. Melville on that 9-game winning streak.
Which is neat to see.
Because they were in a slump. Yeah, they were in a slump for a while.
Great for Melville.
Yeah.
They lost their leading scorer to the BCJ earlier in the league. That old bum steer. I haven't used that word in a long time. And he pieced out and went to the BCJ, and now their boys are battling, but Weyburn's in there tonight. Mapes' boys, Cody Mapes coaching Weyburn. Then Humboldt and Yorkton. In Yorkton is one back of Weyburn.
Big one in the Farrell Agencies Arena.
Curtis, so this would be a cue to put up the SJHL standings. Flin Flon and Melfort. Those are two of the best teams in the league. So there it is. If you're watching the stream, there's the standings right there. Like, look at it.
The Flon went on that great run earlier. What they were 21-1 or 22-1 at one point. So Flin Flon's they're a gamer, but Melfort's been number one all year long.
People are predicting this could be a
league final. Yeah,
preview, league final preview. I don't think so. I think somebody else is coming out. There's just too much parity in the league. And then Estevan's in the Battlefords. Battlefords needs points. You see Humboldt nipping it there. They're one back. And then Kindersley and Nipawin. Nipawin is in next year country, but they are playing really good hockey as of late. They're young. Everyone's proving something. All right. Prairie Junior Hockey League. The Junior B loop.
Is this a one-game playoff thing?
Are you crazy?
No, that's why I just asked. Well, what
did you think this is? ASHL?
My mother had me tested.
The Billy Johnson South Conference Rebels Fort Knox start tonight in the Fort.
Best of
7:30. Best 5, I think.
Best of 5? Okay.
It's definitely not 1. Pilot Butte and the Regina Capitals start tomorrow 7:45 at the Ritchie. That Junior B, when it gets greasy, there's always an upset.
There is.
I find the North is going on too. Like, you got the North Division, then they'll play the South, the Billy Johnson Division. But that and the final of that, and when it's great hockey.
It is. It's fun to watch.
Pat Canadians, they know that they are taking on Prince Albert now. Shout out to Warren Fry again yesterday. He sent it to us Sunday, 7:15 at the Cooperator Center. Then the ever-popular Wednesday trip to Prince Albert, Saskatchewan for the Patsies. Then they come back on Friday. Hopefully it's 3 games, so they don't have to go back. Estevan's going to play Moose Jaw. Warman will take on Swift Current. Tisdale will take on the Saskatoon Blazers. Okay, senior. We talked about it. We were just kind of queuing Dawn up here.
Yep.
That Round Lake Wynyard tonight in that new barn and Wynyard, which is supposed to be an unbelievable facility.
I played in the old one.
No, I thought you just retired a couple of years ago. 1,350 pre-sold tickets for that till tonight. But down the road in Raymore, 63 kilometers down the road, or up, depends where. Lumsden, Raymore. Lumsden's up 1-0 in that series. that will be jam-packed as well.
Is that a provincial
Yeah.
series or is that a league playoff?
Provincial series.
That's a provincial
And
series.
what does Raymore have they basically have a budget like a AHL team?
Sticks and gas.
Like,
well, all these teams are.
Raymore, some rich farmers went to the bank there
Well, somebody
and
took a
bought
loan.
some pretty big players in Raymore. I
No such
understand.
thing as a rich farmer. Tough year. Tough year.
You can't admit that.
Kenaston and Lorburn. Two things. You guys ever been in the Lorburn rink?
No.
It is
I
that.
don't recall.
I mentioned this on the pod yesterday. It's that old school
The arch rim?
Saskatchewan, like
1960s building?
looks like an upside down arc,
Yes.
and it's tall.
Yep.
It's a great barn, and it's going to be jammed tonight because it's game 3.
The Lorburn 19ers, isn't that what they are?
And then
That's darn good.
Yeah.
You got to give them some credit. You probably knew that name. I didn't know they were that.
Lorburn
was their
19ers.
I've never been in that league. I don't think I've ever been in any of those buildings in that league.
So we have Provincial B, also Moosomin's in Langenberg, Game 1. Provincial D, Redvers in Milestone. Thus, that's why the 5 o'clock start for the girls tonight. Radville is in Cupar. Cupar will be a place to be as well. Always fun there. That's Game 2. Cupar trying to stay alive. And in the Long Lake, this is League. This isn't Provincials. Waterson, Drake. Drake leads 2-0. That's a rundown of everything you got going on. We got Don Hewitt here, the professor. Don, let's get your first synopsis, your comments on CFL free agency, the offseason for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, I think 2 rock solid off seasons for the Roughriders in a row. I mean, when you think of what this team did last year, they prevailed through some pretty bad injuries and still made it to a home playoff game because of the offseason they had. They didn't have to, as General Manager Jeremy O'Day said, they didn't have to make as many moves this year in free agency with their roster because of the team that they had last year, but they still made some great moves, particularly as you guys have probably already discussed on their offensive line. I mean, if you look at the projected 5 starters on the Rider offensive line right now, they are rock solid.
It's an all-star
You've
line.
got Tate and Hardwick.
Yep.
You got McHugh at center, and then you've got Gagnon and Furland at guards. That could be, on paper, the best offensive line in the league. And you had to watch the Super Bowl to figure out what line play does in football.
Yep, exactly. It's great that you mentioned that because I think the offensive line, we saw, I don't know if you want to call it the brilliance of Jeremy O'Day, but the work of Jeremy O'Day to put the right group together and keep bringing those offensive. What did they have, like 13 or 14 guys play on the offensive line last year?
Micah Johnson.
Yeah, including a defensive lineman. A couple of them, as a matter of fact.
All right.
So I think that was pretty amazing, the job Jeremy did, especially with the offensive line.
Well, and it's amazing what Corey Mace did by hiring Coach Harrison to coach the offensive line. Because he's clearly the best offensive line coach in the CFL, and he showed it. I mean, he actually resurrected a couple of careers on his own of older players who had been around, not older, but had been around the CFL for 3 years. Nobody was really giving them much of a chance. And they got a shot at playing a bit through those injuries and did quite well. And suddenly, I believe, because of the outstanding coaching, they added more depth to their offensive line via the coaching. And so you can never say that coaching doesn't count.
Yeah.
It certainly did there.
The Tavon Campbell.
Oh, I know.
A hometown guy. And what did the dunk say? It's about 153,000 going to count passports Canadian, putting him there. Like, I think that move right there is one. And again, I don't want to get into where Luke's predicting and all that.
Mhm.
That could be one we're talking about late in the season, how it changed so many things.
Well, it gives them an opportunity to start actually more Canadians. Like, they could actually play with 8 or 9 Canadians with Tavon Campbell and the depth they've got on that team and their Canadian roster, let alone at receiver and the offensive line. Like, this is Jeremy O'Day has really done a nice job of not only finding the guys that are staying here and they want to come back, but finding the next guys that are going to come in and help them out to get to the next level.
Well, it's quite a remarkable story when you think about what's happened, because if you go to the end of the 23 season, I mean, from there, where have they gone on the football side of things? It's been huge leaps and bounds. And now you've got a situation where Saskatchewan, looks like a team, injuries aside, looks like a team that will play at home in the playoffs. They've got another team in Calgary that's going in the exact opposite direction where players don't want to play there. It would be a surprise to me if the Stampeders weren't in last place. You got Edmonton on the rise. You've got everything riding on the quarterback in BC to see if he can come back to form or not. That'll be the big question. And you got Winnipeg. Suddenly, players departing Winnipeg for their former assistant general manager and going to Hamilton. I believe it was 8 players left Winnipeg for Hamilton.
That's odd, isn't it? That tells you something.
It's a complete reverse in what's going on in Winnipeg. Yeah. You don't have a happy quarterback right now, and Caleros, he's not happy at all with what's going on in Winnipeg.
I think Hamilton could be a little bit of a wagon out of the East this year. In Winnipeg, I almost feel like it's like at some point they're going to say, "Surprise! Here's a bunch of guys." It's like,
oh, you've got a point.
What's going on?
You've got a point.
Yeah,
they recruit well. They've still got McManus down in the U.S. No, you don't count them out
yet.
But at this point, losing 8 players to Hamilton and a few other teams, they look like they're on the decline, and so it's looking good for Saskatchewan at the moment.
And we could sound, and of course we are, because we're official broadcaster, like absolute homers here, and we're just pumping tires, but it is positive. And you bring it up, when you back it up to that end of the 2023 season, where it seemed like an absolute dumpster fire football-wise, to where we are now, guys wanting to play here, guys coming back, the continuity, which we've heard a bunch, the runway now. Like, there is no debating that the offensive guys that are coming back, where they start this year compared to last May. Like, you don't even need to know a lot about football, just sport in general.
Right.
You're kind of got this, you're a year ahead of the plan. The one thing that I'm wondering, and I know a lot of people were talking, we need a big receiver. We need someone that can take the top off. Maybe, but I don't know.
I don't see it.
I think we got a group there, and then they're going to be bringing in these guys that we don't know a heck of a lot about. Maybe they have something up their sleeve.
Well, Joe will be back if you like height. He's not going to stick around the NFL in any sort of realistic way.
I don't think so either.
So he'll be back. He's got height, and but the receiving core is pretty much locked at the moment, I would think.
I actually think about the receiving core. There's nobody that the defensive backs go, we have to make sure we cover that guy. Well, you can't. It's so spread out. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there's not a Kenny Lawler that you got to make sure is the guy.
You got to double him.
Yeah, right. They can't double one guy because that's going to leave somebody that can play open.
As an old Patriots fan, that's kind of how Tom Brady would nickel and dime it. It's like Danny Amendola, Chris Hogan. Yeah, there was Gronk, but then there was all the Myers on the wide. There was all these and then they start throwing it out of the backfield where you go to when you had to shut down Pittsburgh. They had one receiver. Yeah. Okay, we'll just double them. Right. And that's sort of, or put Revis on them or whatever. So yeah, I like Tommy Neal, experience, Grey Cup, big body. And there were some guys last year. Myers got injured. We didn't even close to see his, worth and what he can have. Del Duncan Busby.
Exactly.
There is the biggest sleeper for the next season.
Yeah,
I just said him.
Yeah,
he's the biggest sleeper for next season. He's a huge find, a great draft pick, and is way better, I think, than even anybody realizes at the moment. If you took a look at his speed, for example, from just taking a hitch pass, a few times, you saw him last year and bang, he's just down the sideline so fast. He may have only gained 8 yards, but his speed was elite.
Was the reason
as a Canadian receiver, and I would not be surprised at all if he actually starts.
No.
This season and the biggest thing that's about the receiving core is this: the quarterback is going to have more time to throw. This season,
I agree.
And that's going to make every single receiver on the team a lot better.
You watch how he when he had time, would go through his progressions and then pick. Like he is savvy, and that comes with experience.
You know what, Trevor Harris?
Yeah. Like that just comes with experience.
Yeah.
He's been around the league for sure. To your point, knock on wood, offensive line stays healthy. Well, now where does that go? Now you start throwing in hitch passes. You start throwing in screens. You got the running game. Then you got these receivers. Like you have enough tools there to keep teams guessing all the time, which is the worst.
And you know,
exactly.
The other guy we haven't mentioned yet, but it was talked about a couple times, and I think Luke Mullender is the one who said it best last time. Keyshawn Johnson. Right. He still he thinks he could break out this year and really become one of those guys.
I agree with him. Yeah.
I think the problem is there's only one football. I really do. I think if we had two footballs, we'd be way
maybe
better.
they should invent a new game.
We should add a second football because of the receivers we've got.
Keyshawn Johnson is such a great route runner.
Yeah.
You know, he knows exactly, like Mitch Picton is, he knows exactly the little hole to find in the zones. You know, sometimes it's a matter of inches, really.
Yeah.
And he's always in the right place.
You know, and you say Mitch Picton, like if something happened to one of those, if that's the first backup, that's a guy that would start on most other teams. He would be a starting slot back on most other teams. Here, there's so much depth that where do we put him? Right? Where do we put him?
Well, I mean, it's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem.
We got about a minute.
There's the big issue about the Roughriders this year is their secondary. They need one more, elite defensive back. Leonard, I think, is still available, played in Hamilton last year, but they need one more, either a free agent or likely will be a recruited player. They need one more really strong defensive halfback, and then I think they're set.
Nice.
Don Hewitt's with us here. We're live at the Brand Center, Pats and Medicine Hat Tigers tonight. You're sticking around for the game.
Certainly am. I'm here to see McKenna. Isn't that going to be exciting? Gavin McKenna's in town.
I got some bad news for you, buddy.
I hope there's a gentleman in the crowd named McKenna because we got about a minute.
Right. Yeah, there's McKenna's reason he's not playing tonight.
A minute left here. What's have you been to a game this year?
I got half a season's ticket.
Yeah, young scrappy bunch. Brad's got him playing. There he goes. Oh, yeah. Wiener Wednesday shirt, 22.
I love it.
Shout out.
I got that from Santa. Wiener Wednesday. And I don't know how Santa knew. But, yeah, I mean, the Pats, they've got a lot of young, fast players. I like what Alan Miller did when he started to realize, these older players we have at the start of this season, they're not that fast. He went out and got younger guys and faster guys and built draft capital. I really like what Alan Miller's done.
So much draft capital.
And I'll hide my Wiener Wednesday shirt.
No, you can leave it out. It's
you
awesome.
think so?
Yeah, it's awesome.
We got a break.